Ari Aster's latest film, Eddington, is 100% the most chronically online piece of media that I've ever seen in my entire life. And according to him, that was absolutely the intention. The film follows Joe Cross, a local sheriff in the town of Eddington, New Mexico, during the height of the 2020 panini. The sheriff is played by Joaquin Phoenix, and he's basically navigating life during an implemented lockdown by the town's mayor, Ted Garcia, played by Pedro Pascal. These two, the sheriff and the mayor, end up embroiled in a feud because the sheriff, who appears to be leaning towards the right, feels that a lot of the mandates, the required masks and whatnot, violates people's freedom of choice, whereas the mayor is seeing it as trying to keep people safe and trying to go along with what the rest of the country is doing. And of course, he appears more liberal, more on the left. When the feud between these two boils up and comes to a head, Joe decides that he's going to run against the mayor, who's up for re-election. He's going to run against him. Of course, we all remember during this time period in spring of 2020, also the George Floyd protests happened, the Black Lives Matter protests happened, and the protests end up erupting in this small town. In this movie, they pretty much have every representation of the chronically online political discourse that you see on TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, Reddit. The mayor's son talks about white privilege, and he's a part of the Black Lives Matter protests, and he ends up befriending this white girl who's like super pro Black Lives Matter, and she's dating the older black sheriff, and she's like, you need to be with us. And you could tell she really means well, but she also doesn't really necessarily know all the things that she's talking about. Okay, there's a random white guy in town who is a friend of theirs who's like, oh, white people aren't privileged, and then he likes the same freedom fighter girl, and all of a sudden now he starts becoming a left-winger. He starts protesting. He starts talking about white privilege. He starts saying white people are evil and all this stuff, and his parents are like, you're white, what are you talking about? This movie is such a character-driven film, but if you in any way are chronically online like I am, you will see how all of these tropes are played out. There's the black cop who is on the team of the other white cops, and he's supposed to be up for promotion, and they end up giving it to some other white guy, and then he ends up getting accused of a crime that he didn't commit, and he ends up getting framed. So he was on the side of the white cops, and then they end up turning their back on him. In the town, there's this AI group who is trying to build a huge data center, okay, so that they can, so that the town can be a hub for technology. And the mayor, who is on the left, is canoodling with this new tech company to bring it to the town, which, as we all know, what happens when these data centers come to town? They tend to poison the people, poison the land, take up so much water. This town is already in the desert, and we know that the data center is going to make it worse. Even the sheriff's wife and his mother-in-law are super embroiled in many right-wing conspiracy theories. They talk in the movie about the S trafficking. They talk about the child A use, They talk about all the QAnon stuff that you can imagine. I will absolutely admit that I am someone who is chronically online, and I understood every single thing that this movie was trying to do and say, because I see all these characters online. I once upon a time used to argue with them. I once upon a time maybe used to be one of these people. And I was actually wondering recently if the stuff that we see online, the stuff that we see is happening in the world. I had this moment recently where I was wondering, is this even real? Is this stuff real? I know I'm seeing videos on it, but I live in South Florida. I step outside. All the stuff that I see is happening online. I'm not seeing it happening here. I'm not seeing even ICE agents in the street picking people up. I see videos of it every freaking day online. People getting snatched up. I've never seen it happen. I've never seen a protest here. I'm sure that they're happening because I see videos, but it's like this weird dichotomy of like being like, is it real? Like, is this just chronically online stuff, or is like the stuff in the internet world actually in the real world? But watching this movie, I'm like, it has to be. Or I mean, he was seeing this stuff happening online, but I mean, he saw it online, so maybe he just saw it in the online world. Like, is this happening in the real world? Obviously, guys, right? It's happening, but like, I just want to know, does anyone else feel like that? Sometimes you're like, is this stuff actually real? Is it really happening? Because some of the stuff is so freaking absurd. You're like, this cannot be real. But then, for example, you see a movie like Superman as well that just came out recently, and it has elements in the film that are representing real life conflicts, real life problems going on in the world. And I'm like, okay, this is being showed in a movie, but like, is it real, or is it just online real? Are they also chronically online and putting in this? Like, am I assigning meaning to this just because I'm online and is that what it's supposed to mean? Do you guys know what I'm saying? Watching an interview with Ari Aster, he said that this movie was written by Twitter. Like, he said that he has been on Twitter for years, and he was on Twitter during 2020, and he was not participating, but he was reading, which I think, guys, like, y'all need to know that these celebrities, these famous people, these rich people, wealthy people, they are watching us. They are watching us, regular people on reality TV shows. They're watching us on YouTube. They're watching us on TikTok. Ari Aster might be watching this video right now, shit. But they are watching us. And he said that he was just scrolling on Twitter, just reading comments, reading replies, reading the posts. And this film came from that. And you can really see that in the script and the characters and the way they justify things and their logic. And there was another very interesting element of the film. There was a point during the middle of the protest when they really started to escalate. And you see this shot of an airplane, and you see these people who are kind of dressed up like Antifa on the plane, and they have like all these signs to like inflame the conflict, and they're basically like flying on this private jet. I don't know, they was drinking champagne. It just looked really fancy, and it was basically insinuating that there is some kind of powerful person, powerful elite that basically sends Antifa-like people or black operations type people to these protests to agitate, to make things worse, to just basically sow discord amongst people. And I thought that was so interesting because there are so many people like George Soros or Bill Gates that, for example, the right always accuses the left of these people paying protesters to protest and agitate and stuff. And I always find it so weird that they always say it's left-leaning people that do this and not right-leaning people, because we all know that most of those people are all right-leaning. And I thought that was a really interesting element that he added to the film, because we all know that there are people, that there is an active goal to sow discord amongst people so that we do not come together and like turn our attention towards the right culprit of all of the problems in this world. This was a very complex movie with a lot of super rich characters and a lot of different elements and moving parts that happen. It would just be impossible for me to talk about it all in a TikTok video. But did any of you guys watch Eddington, and like, what did you think about like that Antifa group? What did you think that the movie was trying to say? I'm curious if there's anyone else like me that lives in online world and wonders if like the rest of the world lives in the same world. Like, do they even know? Like, I'm out in public all the time. I'm out shopping all the time. I don't overhear conversations of people talking about things that I see online for some reason. So sometimes I wonder if it's even real or not. But let me know what you guys thought about this movie, and make sure you follow me for more reviews, movie commentary, and news.